How to tell the difference between mixed signals and genuine interest from women. Hi there, men's dating coach Harry Wilmington here, founder of introvertdatingsuccess.com, and today I'll be answering a question from a guy who wants to know if the woman that he's currently dating is still interested based on recent actions. Now, as you'll hear in this clip, the actions that she's doing are actually positive, but you'll discover why he saw them as potential red flags and how he can tell the difference in the future so he won't mix them up with actual signs of lowered interest. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon to be notified of new videos. Also, check out the website to download my free ebook, Texting Like a Boss, which gives you helpful tips on attracting women with your phone the right way. And now, let's check out that clip. So the title of this guy's post is She Losing Interest? Mixed Signals. So when I was first reading this post, I was thinking, okay, I'm going to read a post about a woman that is showing these mixed signals to this guy, and he's not able to tell that mixed signals do not exist. Because if a woman's showing you quote unquote mixed signals, then that typically means that she's not interested. Like a girl that's saying, oh, we should go out, but then she's not actually showing up for any dates. Or she's like, I find you so attractive, but she doesn't want to actually go to bed with you, or, whatever, then that typically means that she's actually not interested and you should run for the hills. So that's what I thought I was going to read when I read this. But as I read it, I started to realize this guy has things skewed, because I'm going to read this thing to you. But the end result that I'm looking at is this woman is actually very, very interested in him. So I'm like, okay, so why would you think these are mixed signals, even though this woman's showing signs that she's attractive? And I had to look back at my own past. And as I was starting to transition from being bad at dating to being good at dating, there's this middle point that happens where you're going to be going out with women and you're going to show them interest, and they're going to throw signs your way that show that they're also interested. But what's going to happen is you're going to think back to these girls that you dated in the past that were seemingly showing you similar signs that she's showing, but then like a day or two later, they broke up with you, or they went ghost, or were just no longer interested. And so if you've had too many bad experiences with dating, what can happen is that your perception of the world also is skewed. And what it does is it focuses and says that women will be ready to leave you at any moment. So if you have that thought in your head that at any moment a woman is going to want to leave you and it's going to be without you even knowing what was going on, then what will happen is you're going to preemptively try to look for proof that that is happening, even if it's not, okay? And so as you're dating and you're starting to get better at dating, you have to start being aware that this is the thing that's going to happen. You're going to date women, you're going to see certain signs, and you're going to think that she's trying to leave you. And it's always good to be aware of what she's doing and what not doing. But this is where it gets really, really important to start studying up the signs that women show that indicate they're losing interest, and the signs that indicate that they actually do have interest, even if you're doubting yourself. Because if you don't know what those signals are, you're going to be reading signals that are actually positive signals and thinking, but this must mean she's trying to leave me, okay? And this is especially true for texting. I cannot begin to tell you how many guys I've seen either on these forums or that have written me that say, oh, this girl was texting me a lot in the beginning and now she's not. I'm scared she's going to leave me. And I'm thinking like, this girl had to text you in the beginning, especially if you're doing online dating where it's like you have to kind of message each other a lot to build up enough trust to want to meet the person in person. But once that happens, once that meetup in person happens, then it really is all about the in-person dates and making sure that she's saying yes to those dates and that she's showing up to those dates and having good conversation and possible hookups. So, but in the process of you starting to see her more in real life, she very well might back away from doing all this texting because she's like, I want to save some conversation for in person. I don't want to have to waste everything about my day and about how he's doing in a text conversation. And then when we get together, we have nothing to talk about. And so that's a lot of what happened with this guy. So I'll go ahead and start reading into what this guy was talking about. Here we go. I met this girl on online dating and we've been seeing each other for 2 months, around 8 dates. I want to pause. This, he says 1 date a week. So this guy has been doing this properly. Typically, when you first start dating a woman, you should be keeping your dates to 1, at the max 2 times a week, but you really should do it at 1 date a week. And the reason you're doing that is because you want to, have the time that give her time away from you to really, like I said, build up that interest and talk to her girlfriends about you. But also you're going to be able to gauge her interest better that way. Like if you're just if you put in your head to ask her out for just 1 date a week, inevitably, as she builds up interest in you, she's going to start suggesting that you guys meet up a little bit more. And that's how you start to know she's starting to build up towards that thing of, I'm liking him more, I may possibly want a relationship. So this guy's doing that part absolutely right. Continuing on, she started to initiate text after the fourth date. She has initiated 2 times. We kissed on the first date, and we started to hook up on the second date. So again, this guy's not rushing it. He's doing the online thing. Bravo so far, okay? So on the outside so far, this looks like a guy that is confident in how he's dating, okay? And to be fair, he came to a forum to post all this stuff. So this is internally, what you're about to hear is internally what he's going through. I don't think he's expressed this stuff to her, which is great. No matter what your anxieties or fears are early on, the worst thing you could do is express that to the woman itself. Because there's, you'll see media that's like, you should tell a girl, on a first date that you're nervous too. How does that help a situation? You're nervous, she's nervous. Now she's thinking, oh, he's nervous too? He doesn't know what he's doing? Oh, this is like, I don't want to be a guy that doesn't know what he's doing. I'm out of here. So don't express that stuff. Anyway, continuing on. She is all over me on dates. I don't even have to start touching her since she instantly grabs my hands and stuff like that. We've hooked up on all 7 dates. She is very talkative, always laughing at my stupid jokes that I do and say, and everything seems great on dates. The problem is, it seems like she is losing interest since I had to wait a whole week on date 7 and 8 for her to initiate text, but she didn't. So I reached out to her after a week. So I did on both date 7 and 8, why she didn't initiate like she used to some dates before. Here's what's happening here. This is what I talk about. This guy's looking at this as, okay, she used to text me for dates, and now all of a sudden she's not doing it. I'm scared. And he's thinking this is a bad thing. What's happening is this. Like I said, as a woman starts to like you, she is going to reach out to you. But that does not mean that she now becomes the sole person that is reaching out. And this is where a lot of guys start to fault and have problems, is that this thing kind of will happen. It's like, okay, they'll hit up on the first few dates, and then the woman will start reaching out. And then they think to themselves, okay, so now it's her job to reach out all the time for all of our dates. Women still want to be pursued on some level and want you to ask them on dates as well. So there has to be a balance there whereby you're asking her out sometime and she's asking you out sometime. Because if there's not, what's going to happen is after like her asking you out for 5 or 6 dates, she's going to say, man, it's been a while since he asked me out. You know what? I'm going to just lay back for a minute and I'll wait for him to reach out to me and see if he does, to see if he's still interested in me, but also interested in putting the work in. Because realistically, you guys are both there. You should both be putting work in to show affection and attraction for each other. And that means not being afraid to reach out. And you were doing it early on. So you can't make this thing where it just all falls on her. Because again, a part of her is going to still be that you need, as the guy, need to be asking her out to show that you like her on some level and are willing to put the work in to do that. So this is the example where it's like, it's not a mixed signal. It's simply she's doing this thing where she's leaning back. And that's going to happen. She usually takes 7 to 12 hours to reply to my first text asking for dates, but she always sends like 5 to 8 texts with lots of emojis. The last time she took 24 hours to respond to my date request, but agreed to the date, which is today. Okay, so again, this is falling back to stuff I said earlier about texting and how often a woman's going to text you. Ideally, you should only be texting anyway to get the date. And so as you start to date somebody, this kind of thing can also happen. I have girls that, again, I've been in relationships with, whereby I might text them at like, say, 7 o'clock at night saying, hey, so tomorrow or the next day I was thinking I could take to this thing. Let me know if you're down. And then it might be, if I text her at 7 p.m., it might be, 11 a.m. the next day when she finally texts back. But I'm like, it doesn't really matter when she texts back, to be honest with you. When she texts back, if the response she's giving is, yes, absolutely, let's do this thing, you're good, okay? Some women just aren't texters. And again, I've said earlier that, high interest cuts everything. So most women that have high interest will text you on a more timely level, but there are also some people that just aren't text people. I'm not a text person. I rarely text. I text to if I'm dating somebody, I text them to get the date, or if they've texted me, I'll text them back something. And when I text them back, I'm not expecting them to have to text me back right away. I've dated teachers, lawyers, doctors, etc. I might text a girl that I'm dating that's a teacher, for example, at like 7 a.m, but she might have class and might not get back to me until 5 p.m. And I'm gotta be cool with that because I'm like, they got lives outside of me going on when I'm not there. But a lot of guys get this thing where, well, we're dating and she likes me, so she's gonna answer back right away all the time. She has a life outside of you. And most women also not, contrary to popular belief, are not trying to have a text buddy that texts them all day long, random stuff. They're trying to save it for the date. So save it for the freaking date. Continuing on, looking back on some texts we sent each other regarding date times, etc., she changed date times 3 times on different dates. Usually something like, hey, is it okay if we meet 15 to 30 minutes later? I think I'm gonna run late, which I thought nothing of and agreed, but now I see it as a SHIT test. Probably, it seems so minor. All right, so here's the thing. Because guys will want to read into like every single thing a woman's doing as being a test. And it's not that women do not test, but it's that they don't always consciously test, okay? And this is one of those things where when this comes up early on in the relationship or in the dating phase, you have to nip certain things in the bud if they are not to your liking. I know for me, I am very much a time stickler. When I say I'm going to arrive at your place at 7 o'clock to pick you up, or I'm going to be at this restaurant at 8 o'clock, that means I'm going to be there at 7. I'm going to be there at 8. I do not differentiate from that. I am an on-time person. And what is interesting is, in the past, when I've dated women who were not time sticklers, but I started pushing how strict I am on me being a time person, surprise, surprise, they become a time person. And what will typically happen is this. I'll try to say this on the first date, actually. That way this kind of thing won't happen. But if it does happen, I'll typically say like, yeah, like, I've dated girls in the past that just, they were always late for stuff. And I just, I say for me, I was a theater major and my dad was in the Army. So I came from a lifestyle where being on time, it's respectful. And also you're not always aware of what the other person's time frame is to do other things outside of dating you. So I make it a point to be on time because I want to be respectful of the other person's time. So when I phrase it like that, the women that I date will typically recognize that, and then they might be late like 1 or 2 times, and I don't have to say anything. They'll just be like, oh, I'm sorry, late. I didn't mean to be so late, this and that. And I'll just be like, yeah, okay. Won't make a big deal out of it, but they can tell from my demeanor, from the look on my face, that this was not cool. And at that point, the next time we go on a date, they are never late again. I've had women that I dated where we'll go around their friends and we'll show up to an event that their friends plan and we'll show up on time and they'll be like, wow, like so-and-so never showed up on time. How do you make that happen? I'm just like, it is what it is. But it's like, she has to be willing to do that, and she will be if she has high interest, but it's only if you point it out. Because if you're being this guy early on that's accepting of this thing, like, oh, well, she was late, but I won't say anything and I don't want to hurt her feelings. Well, if you know it's bugging you, but you don't say anything, you can't be mad about it when you try to bring it up 6 months later, and she's now used to you not having a problem with her being late. So if that is the issue, bring it up early. And women like that. Women like to know what your boundaries are. And in fact, a lot of times if you're dating women that are over testing you, it's because you're so free and you're so willing to bend to their will that they don't know where you stand on things. And women, in order to be able to follow you, if they're trying to see you as the person that's leading them, then they're going to need to know that you have certain boundaries of things that you do and do not accept. And I make that very clear by way of like, again, I don't do it directly like don't do this or don't do that, but I do it through third-party stories. I dated this girl, she wasn't on time. This girl did this one thing, and I just decided it wasn't going to work out, and I dumped her. And that lets the girl that I'm currently dating know, oh, these are boundaries he has, so let me not do those, okay? So you got to set those things up for yourself early on. She also canceled on me one time saying she was sick, counter-offered for the next day, which I said, okay, sure. Then canceled again, saying she was still sick, which she counter-offered again, suggesting the next day, which I replied back to her something like, I would love to see you, but I don't want to see you puking all over like a zombie. That wouldn't be sexy at all, so why don't we wait until you get better and then call me later. And said she texted 2 days later out of the blue at 4 p.m. asking for a date in the same day, which I agreed. And then in parentheses, he says, was this another SHIT test? Did I mess up? We also had sex that day, though, so I don't know. Okay, so this is an example right here where a guy that's been through bad situations will read things that are mixed signals that aren't mixed signals. So here's the thing to know, okay? A woman that is interested, if you ask her for a date, she's either going to say yes, or if she can't make the date, whether it's when you're asking her or when something comes up, then she'll say, hey, I can't make this date, but let's try this other day instead. And that's exactly what this girl did. She said she was sick, and when you're sick, you don't know how long it's going to last. So she was sick for 3 or 4 days, and so he did the right response, which was call me later, but he's here saying, I don't know if this means that she's liking me less or whatever, when the reality is she was sick, and she still came back with, but I want to see you another day, and then texted you out of the blue 2 days later saying, hey, let's go out. So that means that she still has an interest. Otherwise, when she got better, she would not have texted you at all, or she would have waited for you to text and then been like, oh, well, I don't know because, you see, whatever. But she gave no excuses. She reached out to you. So Again, if you're a guy in the past that's been hurt, you might not recognize that this is actually a very positive signal, okay? So this is not a mixed signal. This is emphatically her saying, I still want to see you. I'm sorry I got sick. It is what it is. Continuing on, I've only texted or called her the first time we met on Tinder, and since then I only contact her to set dates. That's all you should be doing. We don't chat at all. If we do, it's like 2 to 3 texts max, so I'm not being clingy or needy. Exactly. You don't need to over-text a woman to keep her interest. In fact, like I said earlier, the less you do text-wise, the better chance you have of raising her interest a lot faster. Continues on, the sex is great, excluding the first time, which I had some issues, LOL. When we are done, I go wash myself up, and when I come back, she is already sleeping like a baby, so I would take that as a good sign. I'd say that's pretty good. He says, she is 32, I'm 25. I guess I'm starting to catch feelings since we click so well. She's like a feminine version of myself. We have so much in common, and she is so chill. But I guess she just wants a F buddy. It's weird because last time we met, she told me she was talking with her friends about me and how cool I am. Okay, once again, this guy is not getting the signals, okay? He's thinking since they've been dating for 2 months and they're not in a relationship yet, and she hasn't brought it up yet, then that must mean she's only in this for the hookup. Now, what have I taught you guys time and time again on this show? I've taught you that on average, it takes a woman between 2 to 3 or 4 months before she's at a point where she wants to come to you and ask about a relationship. And a lot of guys today have been taught, again, that you got to rush into it right away, or that if it's not happening sooner than later, that she's just kind of using you, or she doesn't really want a relationship, but she doesn't want to be alone, so she's going to use you as like her simp until she finds a guy that she likes. Again, on average, 2 to 3 months. So you should already have out of your head anything about her coming to you for a relationship within that time span, okay? And you also got to get out of your head that this is a bad thing. This is actually a very, very good thing because, again, he's looking for signals or signs that indicate that she's not interested. But I'm looking at this paragraph saying she's having sex with him all the time. She typically says yes to dates whenever he wants, and when she can't, she counteroffers. And now she's told him, hey, I just want you to know I'm talking to my friends about you. Now, a woman that is going with you just solely for sex isn't doing that. You are the person she's either hiding away or she's saying, well, I have a good D appointment this weekend, but it's nothing beyond that or whatever, okay? But when she comes to you and says, I'm telling my friends about you, subconsciously, that is her passive way of saying, I'm telling my friends about you because you're a potential person I see in my life that could be in a relationship, I could be in a relationship with if this goes well, okay? And so women aren't going to tell you that unless they want you to know that you are becoming a part of their life story. You're a part of the life story that they're now telling other people, because otherwise, like I said, she wouldn't bring it up. So, but she wants you to know that because that's the start of the signals, the kind of signals you'll get they're supposed to indicate to you that she's starting to build up towards actually liking you and wanting to be in a relationship with you. Okay. But if you don't know to look for that, you're going to just be like, she's just screwing me. I mean, she told her friends about me, but that doesn't mean that we blah, blah. Like, just because it's not a relationship now doesn't mean that she's not showing signals that indicate she's about to make that leap. She's about to ask those questions, and this is the start. Hey, just so you know, babe, I saw my best friends I've known for 10 or 15 years, and I told him about what a great guy you are, and, the dates we go out on, and the hookups are being great. But you're just an F buddy, right? Right. Continuing on, let's see. Anyway, we are going out later today. Any tips? Should I go more than a week with no contact after this date to test her interest level if she doesn't contact me, or should I keep the 1 week rule? So, there's this whole thing that guys have learned about no contact, which is basically if a woman's showing you flaky interest, then you go no contact, and that's supposed to make her want to come to you so you can really get a gauge of if she likes you or not. And that is something that you typically do for a woman that is legitimately showing more signals than not that she's not as interested as she once was. And that usually results because if you're texting her all the time and dating her all the time and seeing her too much, then she starts to feel like you're a little too much. And so in parts, no contact is a means to be able to circumvent that. And to be like, okay, maybe I'm doing too much. So if I just kind of back up and leave her alone, then she'll see that I'm not a needy guy and I'm not desperate, and she'll start to get those feelings back. But for a woman that you're already not texting as much and yet is still showing you all the right things, there is no need to have to go no contact on purpose. If you're a regularly busy guy, for one, you should already be busy enough to where you don't feel the need to text her all the time. But also, she's accepting of you, dude. Like, she's accepting your day, she's accepting your signal, she's accepting everything about you and giving you a lot of nookie. So she's not doing anything that is negative to where you need to show no contact or be the guy that's like, I'm not going to answer her text when she texts me for a week or whatever. Like, this is not necessary in this situation because she actually likes you. Okay. So this is what happens when you're not aware. So you need to study up on, these are signals that women show when they're interested. These are things that women say. This is what they do. This is the things that they'll request of you. This is the things that they'll suggest for dates when they're interested. And then these are things over here to look out for if there's a waning interest. And when there's a waning interest, these are things I need to do to kind of back off a bit and then help regain that interest. But you need to know these things so you won't accidentally do what this guy's doing, which is potentially ruin a good thing. I want you guys to learn the right things to do in relationships and then not ruin a good thing, which is why I highly advise you to go to my website, introvertdatingsuccess.com, and get my books. Right now, you can get a free ebook called Texting Like a Boss, which will help you figure out the ins and outs of what to do with texting. If this guy just knew, like, the texts that he's sending right now, then the fact that the signals that she's doing as text and what he's doing right now is actually like working. He's thinking it's not working, but it actually is working to build her interest up. But if he knew concretely what those things were, he'd be in a better position. Now that you've heard from me, I'd like to hear from you. What signals from women have you mistaken for low interest in the past? If you're watching on YouTube, leave your comments below or write me at harrywilmington@gmail.com. Are you ready to learn how to attract women via texting? Go to introvertdatingsuccess.com right now to download my free ebook, Texting Like a Boss, which will give you the secret do's and don'ts of attracting women with your messages the smart way. If you like this video, hit that like button, make sure to subscribe, and click the little bell icon to be notified about future videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.